we have a fantastic guest that we have with us. And before I introduce this individual, I want to say definitely thank you to my man Tom Taylor with Teach Band 101 and our exciting team there, and Sound 180 Educators for bringing this platform together where we can bring people together in a powerful way. Because again, we're better together when we band together. And speaking of banding together, I have my sister in the profession here, and I'm so excited to have her with us today, Miss Rachel Maxwell. Welcome, Rachel. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be with you and to talk to your crew, your people that tune into to hear the gospel of Mickey, as I call it.
Tell us a little bit, speaking of personal, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from,
Sure. Well, I teach in Oswego, Illinois, which is a southwest suburb of the city. We used to be a little teeny farm town, but now we're just another suburb, kind of absorbed into the mass of southwestern suburbia. Really fortunate to be here almost my whole career. I taught a couple of years when I first got out of college in a neighboring district, and I taught 2 years elementary band. And I'll tell you what, if you want to learn how to be a teacher, you teach elementary band for a couple of years, because you learn how to relate with kids in these small group lessons. You learn your instruments better. You learn the politics of the building and how you're pretty much the low man on the totem pole being a program, and you have to give a lesson in the kitchen or the closet or the hall, and you just kind of figure out how it all works, but you get to know kids without the pressure of the ensemble. So I always recommend to people that when you're getting started, if you have the opportunity to teach, like that traditional small group lesson or beginners, it is the perfect way to kind of get your feet wet as a teacher without putting too much pressure on yourself with these big programs and ensembles and marching band and all that. I got to do all those things, but it was such a great way to adjust from being a college student and musician into being a completely different type of musician with kids. If we want some kind of work done, or we have an assignment, or we have a grade, we build time in live during our session with it. We do not very rarely do asynchronous projects or assignments or tasks that they have to complete. So we were just having terrible levels of turn in and work completion. And I was like, we're not giving any more homework. The work is going to be done in front of us, unless of course they blow it off and are staring at their ceiling tiles instead, then they'll have time to do it. It's no big deal. But we build in time. Part of our lesson would be, okay, everybody go to Google Classroom and click on 43. Open that link now. We're going to put the timer on, and we all want to try to get done in 4 minutes with this little boom game or whatever, or this rhythm set. And then come back, or we'll share our screen with them and have them answer their own, form online. So we really shifted from being present, you go work, to present, let's work together, present more, let's work together. Almost and I think we've talked about this, we've really approached it like a production of a show, almost like a variety show. First we have this for 2 minutes, and then we do our listening video, and it's usually something pretty engaging. And then we shift into an activity where the kids do something, and then we will talk about it, or we'll show an example of it, and then one of the kids will show their example of what they just did, or we talk through it. Or sometimes when technology hasn't worked, I've sent individual copies out to kids, and they're like, none of my links work, and I'm like, you know what, that's okay, I'll just share my screen and we'll just talk through the answers. Or you put in the chat what your answers are. So we've just been really trying to do all of the work live with us in person. And I think it's given the kids a lot more confidence in doing the work. First of all, it's given all our absent-minded stragglers no excuse to not get it done, because they're doing it with us in live time. And then we've been very lucky that we have a built-in time in our schedule from 2 to 3 every day. That's office hours. And so if somebody doesn't get done during the day, I'll be like, I'm going to send you and your mom a link. You need to come to my office hours at 2 o'clock, and I'll finish this up with you. Kind of thing. And of course we still have a handful that no matter what the situation, they're really determined to do nothing, which is between them and their mom and dad. I feel very strongly that if it's to that point, that's the parents' role and relationship with how their family's approaching school and internet. at some point the child does need to grab the baton for, like pass it off, and they need to grab hold. And so I've tried not to get too worked up about the handful that don't do anything, because that's a long-term thing that they and their parents are going to have to work on.
I got a new term for that now. It's only been in existence a few days.
I'll take it.
That child is what I call 22. If you watch the new Pixar movie, that's you, in my opinion, are the guru of the entertainment. And like here's what I mean by that. And when you say entertainment, you said it earlier, some people kind of scoff at that. It's performing or entertaining is not being fake. It's not watering down. I think it's just being incredibly aware of who you are and how you are to the kids too, and understanding that what we're doing has to engage them. The TV industry has figured that out. Social media has figured that out. Everybody has figured out that entertainment is nothing more than engagement on steroids. So, Twitter's figured out it can only be 40 characters. Social media platforms have figured out it can only be 40 seconds, but yet we still come out with the big, honking, stinking, endeavor that we're trying to do. But you are masterful at producing a product that kids want to consume. And just talk to us about what it means to be an executive producer of this thing called entertainment.
Well, sure. And, I did some research very casually, just trying to find out, because there was nothing really out there. Well, I went to my principal and I said, you've provided us all these platforms, but if I see another like new Pear Deck times 2.0 or whatever, I'm going to freak. I don't need any more platforms. I need to know what actually works for delivery. Like what's out there for delivery, that like, what is the best practice? And she said, well, I don't know. That sounds like a good thing for you to figure out for us. And I was like, oh, good God. So I went and I compiled a bunch of, I just started, just Googling and looking like best practice for internet. And, 2 to 3 minutes is maximum of a kid's interest. Yeah. So if you're going to do an activity, tiny chunks, less is more. So if we do a rhythm set, we're going to do maybe 4 lines and move on. I play, you play, we play it, we move on, do a scale. I play, then some of you play, back and forth. We try to mix it up so that we're not doing the same thing for more than a couple of minutes. Even if it's, even if the kids are playing, I will stop and be like, all right, I'm gonna start typing names in the chat. That's who's gonna play for me individually. So that's like something different, it kind of wakes them up. Yeah. The other thing we've really discovered is if we give the kids a list of who's gonna play so they know who's on deck, they will turn on their microphone or their camera and play. If I just call them out, like they're just sitting there and I call them out, it takes forever. I'm frustrated. I'm ticked because it's like, why is it taking a minute to turn on your camera? Because the kid's completely like, wait, what's happening? So the more heads up you can give your kid of this is what's going to happen today. Here's the list of kids that are going to play. Anybody, like I'll even say anybody whose first name starts with A or B, get ready to play. And I'm going to call you alphabetically because I just go down the list of like who's in the class, so that they're engaged. And it just and then that kind of gives the rest of the kids a break. Like, okay, I don't have to be on high alert because the A's and B's are playing. So I can just sit and listen for a couple of minutes because we can't all be on high alert. I saw a funny skit with Tina Fey one time where it was actually like after 9/11 and like everything was like orange. And then they were talking about like, they're going to up the level of, she's like, I can't be any more aware. Yeah. And when I go to an airport, I'm there. So it gives the kids a break who know they're not going to get called out. Gives the kids, and then we only do that for a couple minutes. And when I do have kids play, it's tiny, like a measure, 2 measures. Play the first 5 notes of the chromatic scale instead of hearing the whole stinking chromatic scale, which is going to be painful for everyone. Or can you play the first and the last note of the chromatic scale? Or, just little things to make it go fast, to do a spot check and move on. And we try to mix in what the kids are doing with maybe a video, like a 1-minute video sample of somebody online demonstrating it. Or the other thing is we've gotten very much over any sort of trepidation about stealing everything. If I see something good online, it's now part of my repertoire. I mean, I am like Mr. Gordon videos. use them. Somebody like invents like, oh, here's a game where you use a cup to sleigh ride and you do different patterns. We're doing it. You know, if I see anything that looks at least bit interesting, we throw it in, and literally nothing lasts for more than 2 or 3 minutes. It can't, and it has to go to the next thing. And it has to be something that's almost opposite of what you just did. And I think that makes the class go better for the kids. So we might do something like, okay, now we just got done playing. Let's hop on this link and do a quizzes game. And today I'm going to do team games. Or today you're all going to play against Mr. Johnson. They love that. Like it's him versus the whole class. Or, and then we shift gears back to, okay, now we're going to do a listening, you know, and we just try to make it go really fast, because I know if I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm doing 10 other things after 2 minutes. Well, and that's the thing. What is the child doing? What level of engagement are they asking? Because sometimes kids need to just sit back and just let it happen. And sometimes they need to be thinking actively. Sometimes they need to be doing. One thing that worked out great for us, the whole month of December, we did like a Nutcracker unit with the 6th grade. Now, if I sat and played that whole ballet for them at the beginning, they would have been asleep on the floor, of course. But I went on Teachers Pay Teachers. Guys, it is worth every penny. Yeah. Anything you can get on there. I always figure, if it's going to take me more than an hour to create something, I figure out what's my time worth of an hour. Well, I'd rather spend $2.99 on this person's amazing, you know, Nutcracker theme identification unit that they wrote and use that for 2 or 3 days than spend the hours it would have taken me. And even if, like, we're very fortunate we can use our band booster money to pay for those things, but even if it was my personal money, worth every penny. That's because what it saves me in time and stress, and then it helps me like think of other creative ideas when I see these really good ideas that these teachers have in that. So if you don't go to Teacher Pay Teacher, you've got to get on there and just start looking. There is thousands of genius ideas on there.
And you know, for that person out there, you can make more money, but you can't make more time. And a lot of times we hesitate on wanting to spend the money. And I know, I get it. It's not there maybe in abundance, but man, you know what's less? What's there in less abundance? Time. I mean, like you mentioned it. That's powerful.
You know, and I think people really beat themselves up thinking, well, I don't have time to create that. You don't have to, you know, or when you go on even like these the Google or the Facebook Google Classroom Music Teachers page, they share a lot. Yeah. Like just go to Facebook and look up, like search for groups. People are very, very generous with sharing lesson plans, their slide decks. We take stuff off there constantly. So, you know, we did what sounds horrifically boring, a month of Nutcracker lessons, but it worked out great because I took all these great lessons that other people had. So one week it would, you know, we just mixed them up so they're all slightly different. And then the last 3 days of school before the break, we watched the full ballet, and the kids were into it because they knew what each of the themes were. They knew this. We had studied the story. We had found a video where a library had made a really nice video of somebody narrating the book and like showing the pages turn, and they would close up into the illustrations. You know, we went to I found that on a library website. And so then when we watched it at the end, they really understood how these musical themes portrayed the characters, how they're shown physically through the ballet moves. And we never in a million years could do those in 6th grade. In 6th grade, to talk about theme, variation, development, use of rhythms, duple, triple time, you know, we never would have talked about those things. So when we are going to start our instruments, we're super excited that we have a much more sophisticated student body coming into new instruments than we did 6 months ago because of what they've been able to learn in the last 6 months.